Good evening, everybody. This is Andy Shepherd with another Your Success Now conference. Hello, wherever you are in the world. This week's call is about how to let go. Remember, if you've missed any of the teleconferences so far, please feel free to send me a message in Facebook or send me an email. At the end of this call, I'll give you details on how to do that. I've got recordings and I can send them to you. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm a success coach, or if you like, I'm a transformation specialist. I've been formally doing this since 2009. It's been my privilege to work with hundreds of people to have better relationships, better income, and happier lives. I have coached people from every walk of life, from every situation in life. I've coached multiple Emmy Award winners, up-and-coming actors, models, singers, housewives, solopreneurs, millionaires, highly successful business people, small business people, every kind of person you can imagine. So how is everybody? Well, I've got some exciting news for you, and I'll give you this a little bit more maybe in depth at the end. I'm considering going on a radio chat show, so I'll mention that perhaps in a little bit more detail at the end if time is permitting. So before I start, I just want to share something with you. Just want to share something that I've been thinking about recently. I once saw a little boy being given the most beautiful gift of his life. He opened it with excitement and was so overjoyed with it, he just wouldn't let go of it. His parents had bought him an even better present and wanted him so much to open this other present, but he just wouldn't let go. They got so frustrated with him. They so desperately wanted to give him the better present, but he wouldn't let go. Does that ring any bells? Do you know someone who has done similar to this? Maybe you? Are you still doing it? You know that you have to let go of something before you can receive, right? Well, just for fun, I want you to try this sometime. I'd like you to go and get the help of somebody, maybe a loved one or maybe a friend. Anybody can help you with this. And what I want them to do is to just pile objects onto you. So you just put your arms out and just go around and just pile some objects on. Anything can do. Preferably stuff that isn't breakable, because I don't want you messaging me later or getting in contact and saying, Andy, I tried this exercise and I broke this most precious thing. That would be heartbreaking, so don't do that. So then what I want you to do is to just feel the enormity of what you're doing, how heavy and cumbersome all of this is, and kind of walk around with all of these things. And if you've done it properly, then hopefully one or two of them are going to drop and you're not going to be able to use them anymore. And what I'd like you to do is to just pick one of these and just think this one favorite object, and don't let go of anything else. And I'd like you to just pick that one object and just try to see if you can fully enjoy that. So the next part of this exercise, and this can take as long or as short as you want, I'd like you to just go and find the one object that you really like out of all of them, your favorite one. Pick anything, it doesn't matter. Put all the other objects down, and I just want you to concentrate on that favorite object and truly enjoy it. Feel how that feels. Really get into it. Get totally involved in that one object with full appreciation. Okay? And just as you're doing this, be very aware of it all and notice the difference between these things. So I would love to hear your experiences about that. So do feel free to send me messages or emails about that. So we all agree that it is difficult, if not possible, to receive until we have fully let go. I'm just imagining that you're all saying yes to me, because otherwise here I am all alone talking into hyperspace and not knowing anybody's there. So I'm imagining you saying yes. So that's great. A little bit more about this idea of letting go. When I lived in Brazil, one of my staff was always reminding me of the benefits of tidying cupboards and giving away or throwing away unwanted things. And she really believed in how important this was, because you go through, as you're letting go of things in a physical realm, then you're actually letting go of things subconsciously as well. And I know that when I did this, I certainly did start to feel a lot better. It really did have an impact. I felt kind of lighter for it. And it's almost as if I've heard people talk about the fact that even though you aren't physically thinking about all these objects which are around, but your subconscious knows, and it's kind of cluttering up your mind or your subconscious. So this is an interesting thing to experiment with and to see whether it's true or false. I mean, the results you're going to get from it are worth it, aren't they? So give it a go. So basically, as you're letting go of these things and you're having a little tidy up, you don't need to lose money on it, because nowadays with yard sales, Craigslist, eBay's, Amazon, and so on, there's no reason for you to be out of pocket. So sure, we might get a little bit less money than we paid for whatever the object that we're letting go of, but I believe that the gain outweighs the loss. So in this way, we can make a little bit money as we're going through this process. So that's kind of pretty cool. The best part of it, as we are letting go of these physical objects, we have created a vacuum. And in this vacuum, we then have the potential to receive something new and fresh. And this definitely is the case. And this is something that has helped me with some major moves in my life. And a little bit later, I'll talk a little bit more in depth about my moves from one continent to another. And that's been several times. So this doesn't just go for objects, material things, when we're letting go of things. This also goes for relationships too. If you want somebody new in your life for some reason or other, you need to get out of the relationship that you are in. I'm not saying it is impossible to change partners if you're in a relationship, but it is certainly going to be messy. The chances of it blowing it or something, or getting into a bad situation, are pretty high. Also, if you're doing this, then people are going to know that you're in a relationship, and the relationship you're in, your partner's going to know about it. And this is pretty important fact. With everything that we do, we need to do everything with honesty and integrity, because I believe that we need to really contemplate that we are energy beings. I talked about E equals MC squared from Einstein, and we see that energy is correlated with physical matter, and it confuses us. When we bang our hand on something hard, we don't go through it. The energy reacts with the energy, and we don't go through. So we think that the physical really exists. Well, to my mind, and I'm opening my mind to this, and I can remember many years ago that my mother talked about this, and to me it was just blah, blah, blah. But the more I learn empirically, I can't get away from it. Our thoughts are being transmitted, and there is a reaction with other people. Sometimes maybe we know the thoughts of other people, we're transmitting them, we can think what other people are thinking. Sometimes we're perceiving it, and there's a science of body language. I wonder how much of this yes, there are telltales from body language, but I wonder how much of this is also coming from the energy that we're picking from each other. I believe that it is possible that we are actually picking up each other's thoughts. So just something to be aware of. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about relationships because that's quite a big subject, but I just wanted to skim on that just to make this more complete, this aspect of letting go. And with all that I'm talking about in this series, then there's only so much that I can give you here. There's only 1 hour, and I've got this. Some of these subjects are very complicated, and these are things that I often unravel and work with my clients for months on end in a coaching situation. So that might be something that you would like to look at. And so if you do, let me know. I'll give you a little bit of information at the end about what I do as a coach. So let's see, why do we find it so difficult to let go? Well, for many of this, it's due to conditioning. It's like we're almost conditioned from various aspects to hold on to things. We definitely tend to imitate other people, so we're going to be imitating people who are holding on to things. And the biggest example of this, not worst, biggest example of this, most exaggerated example is with hoarders. And I know a few people who are hoarders, and it's fascinating how these people just won't let go of things. These objects can give them some kind of comfort. And often I think that when you've got a person who's hoarding, who's not willing to let go of things, it's an indication that this person maybe doesn't want to move on. It's an indication that this person doesn't like change, likes things to stay in one situation or in one position, if you like. There's something I've mentioned previously, and in one of these calls I will talk about Tony Robbins' 6 human needs, which will really be an eye-opener about how we tick. Because of these 6 human needs, our 2 human needs are the ones that have a very, very strong effect on our lives and mold how we react and relate to everything. So in a later call, I intend to talk about that. So there are people who don't like change and they like everything to stay the same. And there's the opposite as well. There are people who like change. So a person who likes change would probably like doing things like skydiving, like traveling, going to new countries. A person who doesn't would probably not want to go out of their own little city or even out of their house. They just want everything to stay the same. So we can feel safe with what we have. We can feel comforted with the things that we have. Like I said last week, we become familiar with what we have, even if it's not pleasant and even if it's not what we want. We can feel more pain trying something new or to let go of something. We worry about feeling a loss. Well, we need to be brave in these situations And I will go through a step-by-step procedure a little bit later, but I think that something that Jack Canfield said is pretty interesting and useful. It's almost like a mantra, and what he says is, oh, what the heck, go for it anyway. So a word of warning with this, you need to make sure that the reason that you fear doing something different or let going isn't because your intuition is telling you something. With practice, possibly a few failures, you will get better and better at knowing the signs. But this is definitely something to try at. But yeah, definitely you need to jump in with 2 feet and go, oh, what the heck, go for it anyway. Failing forward is a great way to go about life. Remember, I talked about a plane going from, say, LA to London. Most of the time, probably something like 85 or 90% of the time, something like that, it's actually going in the wrong direction. But the pilot doesn't worry about this. The pilot basically has got to he's not just got to think about his flight plan and flight path, that's part of it, which are like, highways in the sky, but he also needs to be thinking about the headwinds, which are blowing him in one direction or the other, and they may be changing all of the time. So he needs to be guesstimating what effect that is having, and he'll be going in a different direction because with the effect of the wind, he's hoping that he goes in the right direction. He keeps looking and saying, no, that's not right, so I'm going to change. And he keeps doing this all of the time. Or maybe the automatic pilot's doing it at some point. So failing forward is something which is a natural process for people who are wanting to get the most out of life and to succeed. And the most successful people in life are the people who fail forward. And they basically don't concern themselves about things going wrong. They know that they will, but they just know that they're going to have the ability to course correct, to change, to modify, to just make it work. And that is something that is pretty essential and useful to us. So basically, when the pilot gets there, he doesn't think about any of these course corrections as being a failure. He just sees it as being part of the process. So he becomes goal and outcome orientated. And this is a very useful thing to do. And basically, the bits in between are irrelevant to him. And that's something that I would recommend that we think. So I'm just building a kind of an overall picture as I'm presenting letting go, because I think these are important concepts to take on board so that we can really get to work on this and move forward. So I think one of the most difficult things to let go of is resentment. So let's look at what resentment is. Perhaps because we feel as if we've been wronged by somebody, it's difficult for us to let go of. Maybe someone has mistreated us. Maybe someone has ripped us off. Maybe someone has stolen something, been unfaithful, betrayed us, said something hurtful or perhaps untrue things about us, and so on. So this can give us great pain and can be very difficult for us to let go of. So this happens to all of us, unfortunately. It is a normal part of everyone's life. To deal with it, I created a 6-step process. So what I suggest is the following. So step 1, try not to do or say anything immediately. When we do things from an angry mind, only misery is going to follow, generally. If you haven't read How to Win Friends and Influence Them by Dale Carnegie, I very much recommend you read this. I have this on audio and have listened to it several times, and it really was a life changer to me. I know that my upbringing in the UK is generally our culture is to express what we feel. If we feel indignation, then we will express that to the other person. If we see somebody as an idiot, then we'll probably tell them that. And this really isn't the best way of getting what we want. It can make us feel good, give us an inflated satisfaction as we perhaps hurt the other person because they've hurt us, and it's a bit eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But when we start becoming goal and outcome orientated, we can perhaps see that there is error in this way of doing things and look at other ways of doing it. Now, I'm not going to go, please, you can forgive me, but there's no way that I can cover what is in that book. And I think most of you have read it already. And I'd recommend reading that book probably at least every 6 months. It's something that you think you know, but then when you read it or listen to the audio again, it really has so much wisdom in it. It's just something to definitely integrate into our lives and make as a part of our lives. And it's very much changed the way that it's improved my life greatly and my relationships by doing this. Another thing I'd recommend is if we're hurt or we're angry by what somebody has done or a situation, I discovered the power of the breath, okay? So this sounds really, really simple. But when I was going through something monumentally devastating to me, and this was a situation that basically I believed that I just couldn't change, and I believed was 100% true, and that my whole world was falling to pieces. And the only thing that I knew was there's a little voice in my head which just said, breathe. And fortunately, I listened to it. So when you're in this bad situation, like I say, just take some slow, deliberate, easy breaths in and out, and just concentrate on these breaths and forget about everything else that's going on. And as you're doing this, after a few minutes, you'll start to feel a change. You may feel it pretty much immediately. You just start connecting back into yourself. And it's very, very powerful. And there must be some wisdom to this, because with yoga, for example, a very important part of it is the breathing and meditation as well. So there's a little something that you can try. Step 2, think of as many contrary reasons to the bad ones that you are believing. So whatever you believe has happened, why somebody has done, or why something's hurtful, or why somebody said something to you, or why a situation happened, whatever it is, think of preferably 3 or 4, minimum of 3 or 4, contrary to whatever this belief is, okay? Another thing that you could try doing is to put yourself in the other person's shoes and really think what they might be thinking. You might be able to add a few to this list from there. This has been also a pretty useful process for me to go through. An example of this would be when I was working, when I had my school in Brazil, a member of staff would be late, and I'm punctual, I'm British, so, that used to I didn't used to like that at all. But so if you think about some of the possibilities, well, maybe the person missed the bus, maybe their car broke down, maybe they had problems with their previous job and couldn't get away, maybe somebody in the family needed some medicine urgently and they were delayed by doing that. Just think of different things. And I'll tell you something amazing that happens. Basically, probably 80% of the time, the reason that I had thought up were the actual reasons. So I'm going off the track a bit. This is actually a technique that you can use on other things just by looking at the contrary of them. So step 3, try to think about any hidden benefits. And at this point, I mean, if you've got something really bad, you're probably going to look at this step 3 and say, Andy, what are you smoking? You are crazy, dude. I do not know. You don't know what I'm going through. But you know something? W. Clement Stone was a master at this. He would pronounce, that's great, at anything that came his way, whether it was good or whether it was bad. He would transform everything. And if you can take a leaf out of his book, that could really help to take the power, to take pain out of this situation. You know, it depends on the level of it and depends on how upset you are as to how well these things are going to work. So, you know, you've got a toolkit here. You're going to have to try them. Some of them are going to work, some of them aren't, but just go through stage to stage. And this W. Clement Stone, if you just remember that one thing and decide from today onwards that I'm going to say, that's great to anything that comes my way, that's really going to be good for you. And that doesn't mean that if you've got a 10-ton truck coming your way, you don't just go, that's great. You obviously swerve out of the way and miss it. So, you know, we need some sense here, guys, please. But I'm sure you get the picture. So, step 4, if you can't transform whatever it is, you must act or do something. So, you need to do it in a way that is without conflict. So, like I've said to you, how to win friends and influence people has good insight here. And what I mean is that, you know, if there's no way out of something, then, for example, if somebody's ripped you off with money, you can try negotiating, you can try to see what it is, but maybe you have to take that person to court, and that's just the way it is. Or you're in a bad relationship and something really bad has happened, maybe you need to get out of the relationship, you know, or distance yourself from that person. You know, sometimes you need some kind of physical action there. So, step 5, you will either get resolution or you won't. If you don't get resolution, save yourself stress by working on letting go. So why do you feel this way? That's something that you need to look at. You know, I talked to you before about having a journal, so I really recommend this. A journal is something that is your best friend and will very easily help you and transform your life. So I really, really strongly recommend a journal. So why do we really feel this way? Where is this feeling of hurt? So where is it? Where is this feeling of hurt? And that's kind of, well, what are you saying? Where is it? That's kind of crazy. Well, I'm hurting. What do you mean, where is it? That doesn't matter, you might be saying. Well, what I'm going to do now is I need to just give you a little bit of tough medicine now. So I don't want you to hate me for this, okay? You know, but sometimes when you're a doctor, you've got to do something a little bit, you know, which is not a nice procedure, but in the long run, it's good for you. So are you ready? Are you going to let me do this? And I'm imagining that you're all saying, yes, Andy, it's okay, we trust you. So I'm about to pull a Band-Aid off now, and it may smart a little bit, it may hurt a little. So here goes. The reason you feel what you are feeling is your ego that is complaining. It's your ego. So let me explain this. I used to meditate for many hours every day, and one of the greatest meditations that I did was discovering the I. So let me explain what this is. The discovering the I is that the I is the ego. It's the bit that say, I feel this, I've been hurt. Why did this person do this to me? It's all I. which is the ego. I know there are different types of ego, but, in Buddhist philosophy, that's the one that I'm talking about. So the meditation that we did, and I'm going to give you a very quick overview of this, but if you're not a meditator, this may be a little bit difficult for you to actually to do. I do strongly recommend that everybody learns how to meditate. The greatest gift that I was given from learning to meditate was the ability to be able to clear my mind. They call, when you're in meditation and learning meditation, they talk about the mind as being full of monkeys, because the monkeys are just going around chattering and talking about all sorts of nonsense. We have so many random thoughts going off in our head. We're thinking about this and thinking about that and thinking, what am I going to have for tea, and why did that person do this, and why is that happening at work, and what did that person mean by this, and when am I going to buy a new car, and what color shall I have, and why is that a horrible shade of green, and all sorts of crazy stuff in our head. So the first thing to be able to meditate is to be able to learn to not think anything. And this may seem like an impossible task, but after some time, it is possible to do that. And to literally be able to think nothing. It always amuses me when you say to somebody, what are you thinking? And they say nothing. And I go, I doubt it. I doubt that you've done enough meditation to be able to think nothing. So once you've got to this place of being able to think nothing, then you can start to contemplate whatever you're meditating on. So I'll give you it. Maybe I should create some kind of audio for this just as the meditation separately, or do a YouTube on this. I don't know. If enough people ask me about it, maybe I'll do it. So what you need to do is you need to create this sense of I. So one of the ways would be to get angry. But if you make yourself angry, you'll probably spend the whole meditation contemplating that anger and what that person did, and you get all raveled up in it, and it's not going to work. So the way that I did it was, fortunately, I've got a great fear of heights. So what I do is I imagine that I'm on a mountain. I imagine that I'm on a precipice, and I'm leaning over, and there's a sheer drop in front of me. And as I lean forward, all I can see is this drop which goes hundreds and thousands of feet to the bottom, and see, like ants walking around, or maybe it's too high up for that, and all I can see is a river flowing or whatever. And I really get into that feeling and really believe that that is the reality. And so I get this great sense of I, this I which is protecting me. And I then I kind of imagine that my perceiver is out of my body. So I then look from outside and see where the I is. So I imagine, I say, well, and I don't do this literally, please, this is just in my imagination. So I imagine, okay, well, if I chop my hand off, my left hand, is it in my left hand? And I contemplate and feel this. No, it isn't. Okay, so if I chop my left arm off, is it in my arm? And the answer is no, it isn't. So then I go to the right side and do the same with my hand and my arm, and can see it's not there. I then do it my left foot and my left leg, see it's not there. Right foot, right leg, see it's not there. Eventually I go to the torso. So I say, is it in my torso? And I remove my torso, and the observer says, okay, where is the eye? The eye is still there. If I can't see the eye, then I go back into it, and I imagine that I'm on this precipice, and I'm leaning over the edge, looking down at this ravine, this river flowing by, and get that feeling of I again. And eventually, the only part that's left is my head. So I said, well, okay, if I remove my head, is the I in my head? And the I still persists. So from that meditation, and this is not something that is intellectual. To do meditation, we have to go through the process. because this goes in at a very much deeper level. So as you go into this, and as the observer looks and sees that the I is not a part of you, something separate, something magical probably will happen at that point, because it can't hide anymore. Boom, it'll just disappear. And you realize, well, it just doesn't exist. It's almost like in the imagination. So this is a very useful process to go through. So that's a possibility. I don't know if there are any meditators out there who want to have a go with that, but that's something I would recommend. The final part of the process, step 6, is once you've been able to do this, you've actually managed to let go, you celebrate. So you pat yourself on the back, either literally or just mentally. And even if you're only able to let go a little bit, or just a tiny bit, or just diminish your anger a little bit, you need to pat yourself on the back. Or do a little celebration, like with the tennis players, and raise your arm and go, yes, like this. Because we need to, from an NLP point of view, you need to condition it. You need to put it into your nervous system. And then as you're conditioning yourself to say, this is the correct action, this is the way that we should do things. Okay? What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to mention a few benefits of letting go. Okay? So some of these may seem obvious, but I'd like to mention them to you anyway, if I may. So letting go, the benefits are it reduces stress. With less stress, you're less likely to have a serious disease. You're going to be happier. People are going to like you more because of your cheerful disposition, your cheerful demeanor. By going through the 6-step process, you may just be able to repair a good friendship or business relationship, which you may be able to, which may be very beneficial for you. So the downfall of not letting go are pretty much the opposite. But I just want to mention them because I'm hopeful that this is going to inspire you to change. So if you don't let go of things, then you're going to get more stress and more stress and more stress. And the more you don't let go of, then you get more stress. Then you don't let go and you get more stress. And you just keep getting more and more stress. It'll just pile up on you. A consequence of that is that you're creating a greater chance of serious disease. There's heart attacks, there's heart problems, there's possibly even cancer. And there is definitely a correlation between stress and any form of disease. So that is something, I'm not saying that to frighten you, I'm just saying that to inspire you to make a change. The other thing is that if you don't let go, then basically you're going to be miserable. You may have less friends, because if you're miserable, who wants to be with you? And probably the friends that you are hanging out with are going to be stressed and miserable as well. Remember the 5-friend rule. You are the average of the friends and the people that you spend most of your time with. So, and that goes for your happiness or lack of. So, that's going to have an effect as well. And ultimately, there is a possibility, if you don't let go of stuff and you're getting more and more stressed out and depressed, that you could ultimately contemplate suicide. So that is definitely not what I want you to think of. Just as an aside, I just want to quickly say about what I perceive as being suicide. I perceive suicide as being an off button for people. I don't believe that they specifically want to kill themselves or end it. They just want everything that's going on to end. So I hope that I wish that the person who was contemplating this would have a better job at being able to let go of things and perhaps use my 6-step process. So if they did, then it would reduce their stress, and from losing, less stress, then they're going to be happy and happier, and then people are going to like their cheerful demeanor, and basically, everything's going to be pretty cool, and they're just not going to want to commit suicide anymore. So letting go has been something that really helped me to make some very big changes in my life. So I was able to move from Brazil to Los Angeles, from the UK to Brazil originally, and I had a lot to let go of then. I had a very excellent job there, a career as a back office supervisor, working for digital in AstraZeneca, 1,200 users. Yeah, I got a pretty good job there, and my job prospects were excellent. I had a beautiful Mercedes, which I still miss to this day. I had my house there. I left my parents. One thing that I love doing there is walking. The Americans call it hiking. The countryside in the UK is very beautiful. I had to let go of all of that and all of my possessions as well. So I walked out with 2 suitcases, and I rebuilt everything, and eventually I had an amazing life in Brazil. I had a big apartment, a brand new apartment, all modern furniture, a bigger TV than I had then, a state-of-the-art LED TV with internet connection and everything. I was really living the high-rolling life then. I got a school which was successful, doing great. And why was that? Because I let go of things, and I just walked in there with pretty much nothing. So when I moved to LA, I did the same. I had to get rid and sell pretty much everything. And I walked out again with 2 suitcases. So you should call me Andrew Two Suitcases Shepherd, I guess. I did it again and moved out here. And the rewards have been so tremendous. I've met so many amazing people and learned so much here. One of them including, going regularly to Tony Robbins and meeting the guy and talking to him. There's been so many amazing things that have happened just because I let go. So I'm basically living proof that this is hugely beneficial. So in a few minutes, I'm going to open everything up so that we can take a few calls. So please be ready to ask me whatever you wish. So before that, I just want to talk about what I do as a coach. So there's basically, by this point in the conversation, I think there's 3 possibilities. One of them is that you can see the validity of coaching with me and can see that this is very important. And you're just going to say, well, okay, Andy, I'm ready for this. I'm sure that you're going to charge me something very reasonable, so let's just go ahead and do it. The second possibility is that you've got a few questions you'd like to ask me, and we can get on a call and maybe I can give you a little bit of free coaching if you want to see my style, or if that's something that's necessary to get you to move forward, then we can do that as well. And the third possibility is that you think I'm a complete charlatan and I'm going to be very upset and probably have a little cry later. But, I'll get over it, and I'll realize that maybe one day you'll come back to me and realize that I do know what I'm talking about and I can help you. So basically, let me just explain what I do. So there are several parts to what I have to offer. One of them is that whatever we have, which is perhaps hindering us to move forward, and often we don't realize that there is anything holding us back. I've had this several times where people have just said, I'm fine. Everything's okay in my life. I don't need anything. And you dig a bit deeper and, well, apart from the problem I've got with my husband, or apart from the fact that I've really not got 2 pennies to rub, or apart from the fact that blah, 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 or there may be something that's very, very subtle that they just can't see that is holding them in the position where they're not able to go forward, and so they're not letting go of the possibility that they could grow, they could do better. So basically, I've learned techniques from Tony Robbins. I'm certified in doing this, and I can go back into situations which probably happened when you're pretty young. We know that this kind of thing, that what happens in the past at a young age, has a big effect on us. We make decisions which we don't have an adult mind to do. This goes into our subconscious and has a big effect on us. So I can do some timeline work at being able to work on that situation, and I've done this many, many times. I have helped people through the darkest of situations to get such an amazing relief that it just totally transformed every aspect of their life. So that is something that I would love to do for you. The next is that I work with accountability and with goal setting. Goal setting is probably not something that we are too thrilled by, but it's pretty important. So once you've worked out what your goals are, you can find a way of getting there. Now, I can get you there quicker because I've got methods of doing this. So I'm very good with law of attraction. So I'll show you methods which will get you whatever you want and get you there very, very quickly. Also, I have an ability to be able to see what's going on very, very clearly. It's almost like I've got a sixth sense. So that is something that I've also got to offer. And basically, I'm authentic. Everything that I talk about is something that I've tried. Basically, Tony Robbins did a knack on me, neuroassociative conditioning with me when I was at Business Mastery. We talked about coaching, and he did a major adjustment on me. And basically, I was at a point where I was going to start coaching, and I didn't. I stopped for a couple of years to make sure that I truly knew exactly what I was talking about. So that is guaranteed. Anybody who's interested in taking this one step further, then you probably are friends with me on Facebook, or you can go to my fan page, which is facebook.com/shepherdcoaching, or the other way is my Gmail account, which is shepherdcoaching, SHEPHERD, coaching, one word, @gmail.com. So what I'm going to do now is just see if there's anybody who wants to ask any questions. So I'm just going to open the mic. So is there anybody who's got any questions for me? Don't be shy now. Is there anybody who's got any comments to make about letting go? Any questions about that?
Andy.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, this is Hi. So what I found at the beginning of your talk was when you said cleaning of the cabinet, and what you did in Brazil. Sorry. So I struggle with weight loss, and I go up and down. And I actually so I'm thinking of my personal closet. And I have clothes of all different sizes, as most women do. But I'm thinking, you're saying holding on. Holding on keeps you, when you don't let go, it keeps you subconsciously in that place. But there's clothes that's small for me that I'm looking forward to fitting into. So how do you decide what to let go of? Yeah,
I mean, you if you're holding on to your are you holding on to some of your larger clothes? Is that what you're saying? I know you said smaller clothes, but are you holding on to some of your larger clothes?
There's larger ones in there.
Yeah, you need to have the courage to throw them out as soon as possible. You really do. Because what you're doing one thing, but you're telling your subconscious the opposite. You're saying, hey, I'm all about weight loss and I'm losing weight, but actually I don't really believe in myself and I don't believe it's possible, so I'm saving all of this because I'm going to fail. And that's a subconscious message you're telling yourself. So you've got to be really clear on it. And you just, we all do it, and we need to just throw stuff out. I mean, I'll give you an example of this. I'm glad you brought this up. This is such a good question. Last week I went shopping, and as you know, I'm doing T25, and I'm losing a lot of weight now. I'm doing great. And what happened was I went somewhere, and I was trying some clothes on, and I was like going, oh, these are great. And I was really happy and just about to buy them. And I went, hang on a minute, you're losing so much weight. You will not fit these clothes anymore. You do not. And I said, I'm not buying any clothes until my weight has gone, until my belly is completely gone and I'm flat. And at that point, I'll start buying clothes because I want to show off my new body, for one. And two, I just wanted that psychological thing. It's like I'm not going backwards. I'm not going to get fat again. I'm not going to get overweight again. So that is definitely, I mean, I really would recommend that you have the courage to definitely throw away the ones of you being overweight, and just because you're making that psychological commitment to go forward. A great example of this is you must have heard this story about the warriors who were going to an island to conquer the island. And what the chief, when they got to the island, he said, burn all of your boats. And they did, because there was no other possibility. They had to win. And, of course, they did. So you want to win. You don't want to go back to your old self. So, you need to symbolically burn the clothes, Maybe you could do that with one piece of clothing, to literally set fire to it and say, I don't need this anymore, I let go. Or, at least take them to Goodwill or somewhere like that and give them away.
Yes.
Does that answer your question?
I have noticed that when I did, I maintained the weight loss. But when I looked at an outfit like, oh, this was a really cute outfit, that was a bigger version of me. And then it was like, I guess, I totally understand. I get what you said.
You've got to do it. It's like, what's more important to you? Do you want to be that person who's overweight? It is difficult because we think we've got these beautiful items of clothing, but, we have to think of the letting go process and then to think, well, somebody else could benefit from this. So that's something I'll add to the steps, actually. You've helped. That's great. Thank you. Maybe somebody could benefit from what we're letting go of. So that's pretty neat. So that's where you're transforming the situation then. You're having to let go of something, and that's a painful experience. Well, think about the pleasure that somebody's going to have when they go and buy your whatever it is that you're giving away. That could be fabulous, couldn't it? Or the other thing to do was, when I was in Brazil, I had a personal trainer, and I got the time. I was doing my diet right, and everything was great. I was slim, and I lost a lot of weight. Originally I lost like 44 pounds. So some of my clothes I really didn't want to get rid of. And it was kind of easier because some of them were T-shirts. So in Brazil, to get somebody to adjust things is pretty cheap. So I just took a stack of my favorite stuff and got them all adjusted. And then it was great. I was able to use them again and show off with my new figure as well, So it was a double win then. Is that a possibility? Maybe just take one or two of your favorite items and just get them adjusted and pay whatever it costs, Because I think one thing is that we look at money and we say, oh my goodness, I can't spend that amount of money. But we need to look at it, well, this is important to me. You know, the money's not an issue here. I deserve this, you know, so I'm going to let this happen.
Yeah.
Do you find that useful?
Yes. Yes, those are two very useful ways to look at it.
That's fantastic.
Because I love helping. So if I'm definitely looking at it as someone will benefit from the outfit, before I would think of, well, are they going to take care of it like I did? Because I'm, you know, there's outfits that I have that are in immaculate condition, and it's years, you know, and then I compare, well, oh, they don't make stuff like they used to. You know, it was such quality back, you know, a few years back. So I would look at it like, okay.
These are just excuses for you to being able to hold on to them. Trust me.
Yes.
Your mind will find any excuse, even if they weren't made well. You say, you don't get colours like this anymore, or I've never seen colours like this. Yeah, or this pattern, I've never seen that in any place. I'll never see that again. And your mind will play any trick to get the result that you really want. So, you know, it doesn't matter, which is where we need to be outcome-based all the time. We need to think of the result, the outcome we want, and just get there, whatever it takes, you know. But, I know it's not easy. I know it's going to be painful, but we have to really let go of it. And just like when you've given the thing away to the other person, we can just focus on the pleasure it's going to give to that person. Even if it doesn't, that's not relevant. You know, we just, everything's about our intention and believe it. And if you're sending that energy out, there's a possibility, I believe that, you know, we do pick up thoughts from each other. And so the other person will be subconsciously perhaps picking that up. And maybe they will take care. And if they don't, I mean, that's just life. You know, this is part of the letting go process. Just think of, well, I had this in my presence. I enjoyed it. I've got my memories of it. And just lock those memories into your soul. And that's all we have at the end of the day. You know, everything that we have is not about the material things. It's about the feelings that we have, you know, the experiences that we had. Those are much more important than the physical things. The physical things will take us there, but it's, you know, it's very much about the feelings we got from it. Okay? Yeah. So good luck with that, and please send me a private message, and I would love to know how you got on with that, and maybe I can talk a little bit more with you about it later as well.
Okay, thank you, Andy.
My pleasure. Okay, so I'm going to wrap the call up now. So thanks, everybody, for listening. As I mentioned, it's possible that I'm going to be going to Phoenix Radio, a chat show there. I'm going to be doing that. I will keep doing the teleconferences, so don't be concerned about that. Next week, I'm going to be talking about how to deal with people that we can't get on with. Okay, so this is, I've learned some techniques on how to deal with that. So I'm hoping that you'll find that pretty useful as well. So I just want to thank for everybody who's listening in on this call. Thank you for Shahai for your question as well. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. And thank you to everybody who's listening on the recording. And if you want to get in contact with me, please do so. It'll be a pleasure to talk to you. So, as I always say, make today a successful one.